we both agree, and I think we all agree, DEI is terrible for video games.
Oh, well, let me take some notes then. This ought to be good.
It's really bad because it changed representation, which happens organically forever in the history of ever. You're gonna see it always, and you've been seeing it.
So DEI is bad because it changed what happened organically and what has been happening forever.
You've been consuming fucking video games that have fucking black voice actors, black characters.
Alright, black people mentioned. And we've also been consuming material that has representation in it, so Nuhre asks what the problem is.
Do you care? No, because they didn't make you care about it. They were just there and you didn't have to think about it.
What exactly is her problem with DEI? What has DEI done other than appropriate a word for what has already been going on?
Now, they add those people into games and they make you, be extremely aware of them. Like, they're here. They deserve to be here. If you say anything about this, you're fucking this and this and that. That's the difference between, representation and DEI infused politics in video games.
Okay, so DEI is bad because we're being made aware of it, but it's not bad when we're not made aware of it. All right, roger that.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, people were fucking being negative about it and calling it like everything, every name under the sun and trying to boycott it. And I said, well, that's fucking retarded because at its core, it is a good game and people are going to enjoy it regardless of what you guys think. And it's always about the majority of gamers speaking up, right? It's about them choosing what's a good game and what game to spend their money on, correct? What happened? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 became very successful. Avowed. Since I saw the fucking trailers, I said, hey, this is just going to be a Belgar 2.0 for this reason and this reason and this reason. And I'm not particularly impressed about what I'm seeing. And what happened? Avowed didn't impress anyone.
What does that have to do with wokeness and forced representation? Is the logic here that if something is not popular, it is woke, but if it is popular, then it isn't woke?
So, am I a grifter when I'm constantly standing my ground?
And what's the ground you're standing on? What's your guiding principle here? Because from my perspective, this is all entirely capricious. It's all based on a whim.
And being right every time?
No, you weren't right. You're conflating the financial success of a product with whether or not it contains some form of progressive ideology. Did Revenant Remnant make that correlation? Did he say anything at all about whether or not the financial success of a product is directly tied to whatever ideology guides it?
And I only speak on RPGs because that's what I know and what I have the confidence and the knowledge to speak about.
Your level of confidence has zero correlation with how correct you are about whatever it is that you are talking about. See the Dunning-Kruger effect.
And before then, you were relatively unknown, but please...
Yeah, I was relatively unknown because I hadn't posted anything on YouTube because I wasn't interested enough to make anything for YouTube. And then the moment I started uploading, I went viral.
So part of the commentary here has veered into how Nuhre got popular on the internet in the first place. Well, the reason for this is because in late November 2024, Nuhre's content was artificially boosted by people like Mark Kern, or Grums on X. In addition, other personalities such as Hypnotic and Asmongold also had a hand in boosting her presence. So regardless of whatever Nuhre wants to say about why she became popular, it was not because her content all of a sudden just became compelling because of what she was saying. No, it was because other people on social media boosted her visibility. And part of why that is ironic is because Grums himself has been having ongoing troubles figuring out which side of the culture war he has to fall on, leading up to and following the publishing of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. One also has to wonder what favors, if any, are being exchanged between Nuhre and all these other personalities on social media, all in order for her to get her channel boosted. Her accent is heavy, her words are difficult to parse, and her takes are mostly brain dead. So my best guess is that the milkshakes are bringing all the boys to the yard.
You know what would benefit me? To go like this on Twitch and YouTube and make money off your fucking mindless bitches. It would benefit me, but I don't want that. I want people that think for themselves.
But that's just my opinion, and my opinion doesn't matter.
People will find the next thing to be mad about because there's always a studio releasing a game riddled with propaganda.
Right.
After all, the games industry is full of activists that won't hesitate to cram their ideologies in any...
Sure. I agree with that, but you guys are just taking that, you're taking an inch and running a mile with it.
Oh yes, there's absolutely no reason not to seize victory when you start gaining ground. After all, the objective in any war is to win it. So yes, take an inch, run a mile, and trot across the entire highway if you can. We are in it to win it.
Because now everything that you don't like or anything that it's not straight and white, it's woke and it's DEI and we should boycott it and we shouldn't pay any money for it and we should,
Oh yes, 100%.
And that's just absolutely fucking retarded, which I understand. You're retarded.
Oh, winning is retarded now. Roger that.
I know this.
Yes, Nuhre just knows this because she's super smart and intelligent. Never mind articulating anything about what you believe in. Just call your opposition retarded and tell everyone you just know what you're talking about. Just trust me, bro. Very good. That's the winning format right there.
I bet you look a certain way. I just know the phenotype is phenotyping when it comes to you. I know this. I bet that your tongue is too big for your mouth. I know. It's okay.
Phenotyping. Yeah, you're just ugly and that makes you wrong. Good argument.
But there's differences. Like what you're talking about is called extremism. It's, you're either with or against me. And you think and you see the world in black and white. You either agree with everything that I say or you're on the opposite side.
Didn't Nuhre also say that DEI was bad? So how is that not an extreme? How is that not a black and white assertion? In which case, what makes her the arbiter of what is or is not extreme?
Zero fucking engagement. Zero engagement on fucking X, zero engagement on YouTube, and zero engagement on your fucking live streams, dude. And you're in a box and you cannot get away with that. Because you are an extremist now. That's how you have presented yourself to the world.
Nuhre is engaging with Revenant Remnant's video right now. She is giving him attention, and that will constitute a boost to his numbers and boost him in the algorithm. He can only stand to benefit from this. And she is also saying this without hindsight into the fact that the only reason she has any presence is because she was also boosted. But even for that matter, being boosted by these other influencers has no correlation on the value of her commentary. In fact, my own channel has received a lot of attention thanks to Synthetic Man. And I should grant I seem to get more attention when I make clips wholly featuring him and not my own commentary. But I point this all out to show just how disingenuous Nuhre is as she conflates the engagement that she receives with her own self-worth. All set aside from the fact that hardly anyone would be giving her content a second glance had it not been for others boosting her.
What you're talking about is called extremism. It's, you're either with or against me. And you think, and you see the world in black and white. You either agree with everything that I say, or you're on the opposite side. You are an extremist now. That's how you have presented yourself to the world.
An extremist is only extreme as the borders of the Overton window. If you lived in Germany in 1933, anything left or right of National Socialism was also too extreme. So saying someone else's criticism of you is extreme is essentially the same as saying nothing at all. Not engaging with the words being said and instead shifting right into, this is all too extreme, is also a common tactic utilized by leftists and center-left statists who are afraid of any change to the political status quo. If anything, the fact that you're so uncomfortable in your current state and are highly critical of anyone attempting to try to maneuver a train of thought away from the status quo would mean that you are the one persisting within a box. In this stream, Nuhre boasted that she strongly adhered to her own personal beliefs.
So, am I a grifter? When I'm constantly standing my ground.
So then, based on that logic, why should anyone else compromise? Compromise is not how you win. This is even why the progressive movement gained so much power over the past century. The so-called conservatives continually sought compromise. And what we have learned over the past century is that when your enemies won't compromise, meanwhile you continue to compromise, you lose. All the time. Maybe losing isn't the path forward.
Because now everything that you don't like or anything that it's not straight and white, it's woke and it's DEI and we should boycott it and we shouldn't pay any money for it and we shouldn't,
So then following his own values, if a white dude decides postmodern culture ought to be straight and white, well, why does he have to compromise on his values? What makes his values any less superior to yours?
Zero fucking engagement. Zero engagement on fucking X, zero engagement on YouTube, and zero engagement on your fucking live streams, dude. And you're in a box and you cannot get away with that.
This is a through line that Nuhre presents as if it holds any correlation to being correct about what she says. According to her, the amount of engagement and money that you receive from the content that you produce correlates with how correct you are. This is also where the grift label is coming from. What Revenant Remnant is picking up on here is a narrative hijack by someone who knows little or nothing about what she's talking about. Again, Nuhre owes her popularity on social media not to the fact that she has her hand on the pulse of a prevailing right-wing narrative. Rather, it is because she had her channel boosted by other influencers involved in culture war politics, or psychopolitics. In late 2024, surrounding the ongoing conversation about EA, BioWare, and Dragon Age the Veilguard, Nuhre received a fair amount of ongoing attention, and that, in turn, fooled a lot of people into thinking that she was one of many psychopolitical cheerleaders for the anti-woke. However, now that Dragon Age the Veilguard is yesterday's problem, she has therefore been compelled to talk about the current culture war issues, else her channel stands to suffer in its place in the algorithm. And what's also been made apparent to Revenant Remnant and to myself and many others is that Nuhre was only correct because she happened to land on the correct side of the fence as it pertained to Dragon Age the Veilguard. And that was not hard to do. That was the way the wind was blowing. But there was no governing principle behind her landing on the correct side of the fence. For that matter, Hypnotic is the exact same way, as are so many others within the current libertarian centrist sphere. They are all ships without rudders. Their content is made to appeal to fence-sitters and not anyone with any desire to see, much less induce, any meaningful change to the status quo. And for anyone confused as to why this is all referred to as grift, I can explain that in short detail. If an influencer in social media says things like DEI bad, forced representation is bad, etc., etc., well, the idea is that they know what they're talking about, right? But no, some people will say these things because it is rhetoric, and it resonates with a prevailing side of culture war discourse, and the people that use that rhetoric want to be on the winning side, and so they are achieving popularity and financial success based on what they say with their mouths, as opposed to what they really believe in behind closed doors. And the grift often reveals itself over time, when they are presented with any case where the prevailing narrative will run contrary to the principles they were supposed to have adopted. And often when they are called out for their hypocrisy, they resort to the same things Nuhre is doing right now. I'm just staying true to myself and my beliefs, which essentially means nothing. They're going in whatever direction the wind is blowing. I should also grant that Nuhre is a female, and women are particularly susceptible to this kind of behavior because women, in general, are averse to any form of public confrontation or going against the grain of societal or political issues.
You obviously know and see this with BioWare, but other studios have done this as well. Or maybe you don't know since you've been on autopilot like an NPC spewing verbal sewage.
Okay.
But I'll enlighten you and make things easy. There's Naughty Dog, Bethesda, Larian Studios, Ubisoft, EA, and yes, Tika, Warhorse Studios too.
You're just afraid of gay people and black people. Like, they just make you insecure, dude. If you were half of the man you think you are, this wouldn't bother you.
In a roundabout way here, what Nuhre is doing is employing a line of argumentation referred to as the law of merited impossibility. This is a fallacy I've talked about before. The way this works is that the subject denies that something is happening until one's opponent has proved that that something is happening, to which the subject goes on to say that that something is actually good, and you should let it happen. Nuhre began talking about Revenant Remnant's video that DEI was forcing things in artificially and ruining something that was already happening organically.
DEI is terrible for video games. It's really bad because it changed representation, which happens organically forever in the history of ever. You're gonna see it always, and you've been seeing it.
And the difference between then and now was one's capacity to notice it. And that's what's bizarre about her issues with DEI. She seems content with knowing that DEI is happening, but it is the noticing that she has a problem with. But even after saying that she doesn't like DEI and wants more organic induction of diversity, she reacts to a series of clips provided by Revenant Remnant, and she proceeds to acknowledge things that Revenant Remnant hasn't even mentioned. Revenant Remnant has not specifically mentioned Yasuke here, or what is even going on in KCD2. At this point in his video, all he's done is show a series of images.
There's Naughty Dog, Bethesda, Larian Studios, Ubisoft, EA, and yes, Tika, Warhorse Studios 2.
It is Nuhre who reacts to these images before proceeding into the "it's a good thing, and you should let it happen" phase of merited impossibility. But you see, if Nuhre actually believed anything about these images was organic, then her reaction would be confusion. Why are you showing these to me? Where are these from? What's going on? No. Instead, she says,
"You're just afraid of gay people and black people. Like, they just make you insecure, dude."
This all exposes the fact that she recognizes wokeness in media, but is compelled to both deny it is woke and then proceed to say it's fine when she's confronted about that denial. And moreover proceeds to call Revenant Remnant a bigot or a coward for not accepting it.
If you were half of the man you think you are, this wouldn't bother you.
Essentially, this is the same thing we saw with Critical Drinker with God of War Ragnarok when he insisted that everyone just ignore the elephant in the room that was a black girl usurping the role of a Norse goddess.
A few characters with different skin tones is probably the least unusual thing you're gonna see.
The governing principle behind this fallacy is that bias is anathema. One must simultaneously acknowledge one's biases but also deny one's capacity for bigotry. Therefore, two mutually exclusive ideals are adopted, leading to the law of merited impossibility. This is not happening, it is good that it is happening, and you are a bigot for saying otherwise. You're not allowed to talk about Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows because, oh, do black people scare you? You're not allowed to talk about how Henry of Scalise and Hans Capon have a homosexual relationship in KCD2 because, oh, do gay people scare you? If you are a real man, this stuff shouldn't bother you, says the woman.
Are you gonna bring up how Mass Effect is woke? Because that would be the last nail in the coffin to just show that you're just a weirdo, like you're just a little freak that gets, no love and gets no external validation from the people around you. So you go seek it in the internet. You're very lonely, you're a lonely man, and you're just screaming at clouds, waiting for someone to scream back at you and tell you, "Oh my god, you're so right." And it's just because you're spewing the same takes as everyone else, but you make it more boring somehow, less engaging.
Again, she is engaging with Revenant Remnant's content right now. What compelled her to watch Revenant Remnant's video if her opinion of him was so low? It doesn't help her case in the slightest to spend an hour and a half watching a video only to assert that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But to answer Nuhre's question here, yes, an argument could be made that Mass Effect does contain woke elements. Just because a game was praised and was well remembered later does not mean that game contained zero woke elements. In fact, one could argue that the game is well remembered despite its woke elements, because it contains a vast amount of based elements which overshadow its woke ones.
You're working too hard.
Former YouTuber American Krogan produced multiple videos about this very subject in the past, often referring to various pop postmodern elements as proto-woke. There was a subtle messaging. They were there, but they largely went under the radar.
Like, you think, like, this is something new. Like, you're reinventing the wheel or something like that. When we have heard all of this before. Multiple times by multiple like different people that actually know how to market themselves. If they're gonna grift, at least they're gonna grift successfully.
So it is genuinely difficult for me to parse what exactly Nuhre is trying to say through her accent here. Best I can determine is that multiple people have said this before. But what is this? Is she referring to the criticism that KCD2 is woke? And who exactly knows how to market themselves and grift successfully? And this all leads me to question why people are continuing to watch her channel if she is this bad at articulation. It really must be the milkshakes.
You can say people will find the next thing to get mad about, but you're literally doing the exact same thing you criticize others for in your video. It's total hypocrisy and constantly—
How? You're doing the exact same thing, finding the next thing to get mad about. But I only literally talk about RPGs? Warhammer Avowed, which I also spoke about Avowed 2 months ago.
Revenant Remnant wasn't saying the act of capitalizing on rage bait content was inherently wrong. He was saying that Nuhre's criticism of it is hypocritical, and a quick once-over of her channel will tell you that yes, she is knee-deep in commentating about whatever drama is surrounding the current thing, at least as far as the RPG genre in video games is concerned. So no, it does not matter that she selects a very specific video as an example of her not covering drama, when one can clearly see that she does utilize rage bait quite often.
I can show you where the YouTube hype train is. Right here, baby. Come here.
See, she thinks that she's caught Revenant Remnant in his own hypocrisy here, but he never said clout chasing was bad. Again, Revenant Remnant was not criticizing ragebait. He was criticizing Nuhre's criticism of ragebait and the fact that she utilizes it herself.
I don't understand what the point you're trying to make. Do you guys understand the point that he's trying to make?
Well, there you see, she doesn't even know what she's talking about here. She has completely lost the plot.
We talking about other people, like talking about Atreus, which does Atreus know that you talked about him? Because I don't think you would be so happy-go-lucky if he did. I'll let him know. Don't worry about it.
I have no context for what she's talking about here. I just thought it was funny how she sounds like she's going to have to play tattletale and tell Daddy that someone is talking about them behind their back. And if you hadn't picked up on the tone of Nuhre's video right now, everything comes across as very juvenile, very childlike. Granted, that might be funny in a different context, but here it all comes off as extremely obnoxious.
You're just mad because I get engagement and you don't. That's the bottom line of it.
No, in fact, if anything, Revenant Remnant is giving Nuhre far too much credit here. He is being far too nice to her. At the very least, he is allowing for the fact that she isn't just a culture war parasite who was given a free ride by Grums.
And it's no surprise that I have more centrist takes on things, because they know that when I criticize a video game, I criticize it for objective things, because I judge video games on things that are objective, or as objective as they can be, which is, in case of RPGs, story, dialogue, voice acting, animations.
So because she is a centrist, she is objective. But not only that, she is objective because of the things she talks about, as opposed to where her opinions even come from. You know, this might be the clearest form of self-reporting I've ever come across in the history of SlopTube. Nuhre isn't even trying to lie here. She truly believes that the centrist position, the fence-sitter, is the same as being objective. And she thinks that being objective means having opinions about things. Because reasons. Everything about her logic is circular. This is the fundamental paradox of every centrist. The most objective position they believe they can take is to have no objectives. They don't take any sides, they sit in the middle, and somehow that makes them correct.
You might hate Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and you might hate a lot of the fucking things they did in that game, but that doesn't make that game bad.
This is strawmanning. Revenant Remnant is not making a case for whether KCD2 was good or bad. He was insisting that Nuhre be consistent in recognizing that KCD2 contains many woke elements.
Also, he has criticized me that I'm making culture war videos to monetize off of them, which is like, yeah, what the fuck do you want me to do? Like, post it on fucking what?
So it's okay when you can do it and benefit off of it as well.
And I don't make culture war videos either. That's true as well. It's like...
Did she just admit to making culture war videos, and then after realizing what she just said, then try to say she didn't just admit that?
He has criticized me that I'm making culture war videos to monetize off of them, which is like, yeah, what the fuck do you want me to do? Like, and I don't make culture war videos either. That's true as well. It's like...
Roger that.
That's the thing. You're lumping me with people that hated on Veilguard for being too woke, when I hated on Veilguard for being a bad video game. Do those two things are correlated? Yes. They're correlated because, as I explained multiple times as well, you know, when you push DEI to the front, that means that a lot of things in the game get pushed to the bottom of the totem pole. Things that should be priorities like animations, dialogue, story, character design, character fucking development. Those get pushed at the bottom of the priority list.
So it's because of prioritization. It's because they prioritize DEI, and that's the problem, not DEI itself. See, DEI is not bad, guys. It's only when you notice it.
And newsflash, this didn't start with Veilguard. This has been going on long before that game.
Why weren't you talking about it then, though? It's been only 2 years.
Okay, so Nuhre pauses the video right here before Revenant Remnant has finished his point. In the middle of this pause, she asks, why wasn't he talking about this topic in the past? However, when she hits the play button again...
People didn't run with it after Veilguard. People were calling this out since...
But it didn't get you any views.
So first it was, why weren't you talking about it? And then he immediately references that this was something that he talked about. And then her next point is, you didn't get any views. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Because the video didn't get enough views on it, well, the information just must be wrong. Foolproof assessment, Nuhre. Absolutely brilliant.
Because you just recently became aware of it, doesn't mean Veilguard was a jumping off point for the anti-woke conversation.
I never said that, though. I said that Veilguard was such a prominent, example of DEI that it opened a lot of people's eyes to what was going on, and it opened a door to conversations. That's what I said. I didn't say Veilguard is how people found out that DEI bad.
So her excuse here is to say that talking about DEI opens up the field to new conversations. But what's being revealed here is that was all just lofty commentary. It's absolutely meaningless. What new conversations were opened? And who are having these conversations? And this is what I mean when I say Nuhre has brain-dead takes. Yeah, it sounds nice when you say, look at all the new conversations this is opening up. But if that really doesn't mean anything in the long run, then simply saying it has zero value.
While KCD2's DEI nonsense is not on the same level as Veilguard, it still doesn't change the fact that KCD2 is woke.
Okay. Do people care, though?
So she isn't even denying it now? She said okay, and she isn't even trying to argue against Revenant Remnant's assertion. And her rebuttal is to ask whether or not people care? What does that have to do with anything? To add to just how bizarre this line of thinking is, Nuhre proceeds to look at SteamDB charts as if comparing those charts has anything to do with whether the games listed contain woke elements. Now, my best guess here is that she assumes Revenant Remnant is promoting a go woke, go broke mentality in his commentary. But I don't believe he ever did. What Revenant Remnant was doing was simply to analyze the media in front of him and to notice there were elements within that were indeed woke. And now, as I pointed out before, Nuhre did try to pretend like she didn't know what he was talking about.
Is it because you know there's similarities between Veilguard and KCD2 that will expose you as a hypocrite?
Where? But you have to say what the similarities are.
But that was disingenuous. Remember when he showed the clips earlier, she immediately said,
"You're just afraid of gay people and black people. They just make you insecure, dude. If you were half of the man you think you are, this wouldn't bother you."
But now she is acting like she doesn't know what he is talking about?
Is it because you know there's similarities between Veilguard and KCD2 that will expose you as a hypocrite?
Where? But you have to say what the similarities are.
Roger that.
Huh. Wow. But they're the same picture, chat. They're the same picture. They're the same level of DI slop. So how is it that the majority of gamers, which is most of us, like product, but what could the difference be between these two products?
Revenant Remnant made no argument that wokeness has any correlation between the success or failure of a game. This is all straw-manning, but simultaneously, it is a very grotesque look into how Nuhre thinks the culture war rhetoric operates.
You just recently became aware of it doesn't mean Bellegarde was a jumping off point for the anti-woke conversation. While KCD2's DEI nonsense is not on the same level as Bellegarde, it still doesn't change the fact that KCD2 is woke.
But people don't care.
So that's her argument then. It doesn't matter if the game is woke, if it contains DEI, none of that stuff. What matters to Nuhre is whether or not people care.
It's almost like, since time immemorial, if game good, game good. I don't know what's so hard to understand.
And that is about as far flung from an objective take as you can get. Rather than analyze the media right in front of you and determine what messages the product contains, you just wait until, Grums or Asmongold or some other person tells you you need to care about whatever the fuck you're supposed to care about. And then you just bandwagon after that. Really brave there. That's all there is to it. Never mind why these people pick and choose what products you need to be upset about, regardless of any contradictions as to why one product is chosen over another.
Warhorse retconned Henry and Hans to be bisexual when before they were canonically straight. They shoehorned Musa, a black Muslim, in 1403 Bohemia, all of which makes no sense.
Wait until someone tells him that the game is not real.
So I know the go-to here would be to argue that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is supposed to be based in 15th century Bohemia and all that jazz, but my general mode of operation is to use one's logic against them, in which case we have this clip right here.
So we have the presets, which all look the same.
For context, Nuhre is talking about the character creator in Dragon Age the Veilguard, and she has devoted a segment talking about how closely the character creator in this video game aligns with reality.
I'm gonna use myself as reference, okay? And yes, I will allow you to look at my breasts for a short period of time. You see this? I'm a B cup. I'm not a D cup. I am... And you see how there's a shape to the tit. You know what I'm talking about? My tits are not here. And look at this. Then go back here. Why are their tits right here? Real boobs? Whatever that is. I look at boobs every single day. They don't work like that.
Okay, but is anyone going to tell her that the game is not real?
Wait until someone tells him that the game is not real.
Roger that.
Daniel Vavra said himself that there were...
Again, you got your feelings hurt because Daniel Vavra is a piece of shit and he doesn't care about you. Ooh, oh my god. Do I think him being a piece of shit makes the game any less good? No. And do I think most people care about Daniel Vavra's opinion about anything? No, because they don't even know who Daniel Vavra is. Same thing that a lot of people don't even know who, David Jaffe is.
And this is also a worth-a-buy situation. Nuhre doesn't care that Daniel Vavra lied about all the leaks. In fact, she just thinks it's funny.
The fact is, Daniel still lied. I don't know anything about that. I'm pretty sure every single person in this stream has lied. So, I don't care.
Roger that.
And again, there was no people in medieval Bohemia. The game tells you that Musa was brought from his very black country into the very white Bohemia.
And why is that not forced representation? Why is that not exactly prioritizing ideology over storytelling and characters? See, there's no guiding principle at all here. It is very literally, I like this game and so did other people, therefore it isn't woke.
You know, like how the black people in America are black because they were taken?
Black people in America? You mean in the 1500s, roughly 100 years after KCD2 takes place historically? Also, America, an entirely different country than Bohemia.
The author set his own standard and violated it. He can do that, though.
So someone in Nuhre's chat made a base take. They just called out Daniel Vavra, and they told Nuhre, hey, do you realize the author of the game that you like lied about what was in it? He lied to his audience. He set standards in the first game that many people expected to see in the second game, and he violated those standards. And Nuhre's response is just, oh, he can do that. Yes, people are just allowed to lie. I mean, why should there be consequences for lying? You know, it's not like we want to trust what other people say in the future when they promote their products, right? It's not like trust is the foundation for making purchasing decisions, right? No, just lie to people. What's the harm in it?
Please throw the Gerald line at me. I'm waiting. Please prove me right. Throw the Gerald line at me.
Or anything about him meeting Sigismund. While the game is fictional, it was intended to be strongly rooted in history and have
Shut up. Go to fucking... You have a speech impediment? And it's pissing me off.
authenticity. It wasn't some make-believe fairy tale.
It is a make-believe fairy tale because it's not real.
Well, there you have it. KCD2 is, in fact, a fairy tale. Thank you, Nuhre, for enlightening us with your centrist wisdom and knowledge.
I look at boobs every single day. They don't work like that.
Ultimately, what Nuhre's rhetoric boils down to is the same useless grift employed by the likes of Critical Drinker, of EFAP, of those like them who enjoy the most reductive solutions possible to the current state of media. Bad writing ought to be just good instead. Oh, what a great solution. Very inspirational stuff. I mean, who could have imagined that the solution to failure was to succeed instead? Really, that gets the noggin jogging. The outrage surrounding Dragon Age the Veilguard adopted anti-woke as its rallying call. That happened in a moment in time. But now that rallying call has been all but abandoned. And rather quickly, too. Why? Why is that? Well, a few months ago I talked about this kind of behavior and noted that this is what centrists do. Centrists are in constant motion, all in a grand attempt to remain center-left of the Overton window. What is happening now mirrors what happened in 2017 in the months following the election of Donald Trump, wherein the skeptic community of then was going after the alt-right. The psychopolitics during that time are all too similar to what they are now. The left had gone too far, and now things need to cool down. But as Synthetic Man was keen to point out, many of the biggest names on YouTube are centrist libertarians. Their psychopolitics entails sitting comfortably where they always have been, on the fence. They are deathly afraid of being called a bigot and so have resorted to a wait-and-see mentality, checking where the wind is blowing before proffering the most reductive takes in response to any new piece of media. Saying things like, oh, they should have hired better writers. You should have just made a better video game. Yes, very helpful. But there's no rudder. There's no captain at the helm here. And just like what Synthetic Man said last year, what they will receive in return is exactly what they have said that they will tolerate. They still want their DI and their woke, etc. They just don't want to notice it as it happens to them. And they don't want you to take notice of it either. Last year was Amazon's Fallout show, but for 2025 it is looking like KCD2. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as how deeply that proverbial woke mind virus has affected the average consumer. And in all this, the most shocking thing for me, although not surprising, is how the objective position now has become to defend the liar.
If the developer has lied, do you want to know how many fucks I give about that? None. I don't care. Do you think the developers of games, do you think directors of movies, they're all perfect people who don't ever lie or do anything wrong? What's that got to do with anything? What is wrong with people?
Do I think him being a piece of shit makes the game any less good? No. And do I think most people care about Daniel Vavra's opinion about anything? No, because they don't even know who Daniel Vavra is. The author set his own standard and violated it. He can do that, though.
I don't know what kind of hold Daniel Favre has on people like Nuhre or like Worth a Buy, and who knows how many other shills for KCD2, but is it not amazing that the objective position now has been to respond to absolute lies with, we don't care? But as we saw with Nuhre to Revenant Remnant, and as we saw with Worth a Buy to Synthetic Man, why is it the reaction is not to resort to reason or logic? Instead, it is completely emotional.
While the game is fictional, it was intended to be strongly rooted in history and have
Shut up. Go to fucking... You have a speech impediment? And it's pissing me off.
Honestly, people are... What is wrong with people? My goodness. You wouldn't have lasted 5 fucking minutes in the 80s, you lot. What is the matter with yous? Grow a pair of fucking balls, man. My goodness, how many fragile people is it? He lied! Somebody lied! He made a game!